My Andrew said that he was going to quit his job. He followed me right after graduating from college and had worked under me for 7 years. Suddenly, he said he wanted to quit yesterday. After thinking it over carefully, I guess it might be because I spanked him the other day. Please note that I'm a straight man. Among straight men, touching each other's thighs, spanking, and putting an arm around each other's shoulders, is that even a big deal? He could have just hit me back. Is it really necessary to quit? He's a 29-year-old man, not a young maiden. Moreover, I didn't do it on purpose. Yesterday, my pen dropped under the table and I asked Andrew to pick it up for me. He bent down and his suit pants tightened. At first, I didn't want to pat him, but he took so long to pick it up that I couldn't hold back and gave him a pat. Andrew immediately straightened up and stared at me in disbelief. I didn't care and even found it quite novel. I also said, "Have you been going to the gym? You've made great progress." "Which gym is it? I think I should also go and work out. I'm getting married in a few months and I want to look better then." Who would have thought that Andrew suddenly got really angry? I had never seen him so furious before. He threw the pen onto my desk and said, "I'm quitting." Then he just left work on his own. To be honest, I have a bad temper. If someone else dared to show me a bad attitude, they wouldn't leave my office without getting hurt. It's only him. He's so skinny and frail that I'll just let him off lightly. Just as I was thinking like this, Andrew came in with a stack of documents in his arms. My Andrew is 1.83 meters tall and looks ordinary, although many women in the company have praised him for being handsome. "Mr. Jack, here is my personnel transfer arrangement. Please take a look." Andrew has always been polite and aloof when speaking. I used to appreciate his unassuming attitude, but now it just doesn't sound right. Look, after following me for 7 years, he didn't even say a nice word when quitting. He's an ungrateful wretch. I don't agree. I lifted my chin and said coldly, "Andrew, what are you sulking about? It was just a spank on your butt. I didn't even use much force." Andrew pursed his handsome lips and said nothing. As a leader, you have to be both strict and kind. I softened my tone and said, "I'll apologize to you, okay? When I was in school, we used to have communal baths. Everyone didn't care much. Under the rows of faucets were our naked, youthful bodies. For boys, we would throw slippers at our classmates' buttocks while taking a shower. We only did that because we were close. Don't be angry. You like those unpalatable truffles. I'll take you to have them tonight. You can have as much as you want." "Mr. Jack." Andrew interrupted me, looking a bit speechless. "I'm not quitting because of. I've been planning this for a long time. I just officially proposed it yesterday." I immediately got angry, "So, while I was planning to have a team building trip to the UK with you before the Spring Festival, give you gifts during the Spring Festival, and raise your salary after the Spring Festival, what you were thinking about was when to leave me?" Andrew took a deep breath and said, "Yes. Have I treated you badly over the years? Andrew, among your peers, your salary is 6 times theirs. I also secretly gave you a bonus during the Spring Festival. Andrew, you owe what you have today entirely to me. If it weren't for me back then, right after graduation, you'd have to be a gigolo for that fat real estate pig." Andrew gasped for air. Whether he was angry or something else, his face turned bright red. "I paid off the money I owed you 3 years ago. Wasn't it still the salary I paid you?" Andrew was silent for a moment, then suddenly exploded. 7 years. Leo, I got up at 6 every morning, went downstairs to serve you, help you get dressed and have breakfast, and even be your driver. At night, I accompanied you to work overtime, cooked midnight snacks for you, and covered you with a quilt. I was still working after you fell asleep. It was already a miracle if I could go to bed before 12. Nanny, driver, housekeeper, cook, and punching bag. I deserved the 6-fold salary. I was taken aback. Since my full name often appeared in math problems, I was often laughed at. I hated others calling me by my full name the most. I shouted, "Why are you so angry? Don't call me by my full name. If you're not satisfied with your salary, just tell me. Would I disagree when I spoil you so much? 8-fold, 10-fold. Okay, I'll give you as much as you want. If you feel tired, don't do some things. I'll find someone else. If you quit your job, you can't live in my house anymore and have to buy your own house and pay for utilities. Think it over, young man." Andrew regained his usual calm and elite look. "I've thought it through. It'll take a month for the personnel handover. Mr. Leo, don't worry. I'll arrange everything for you." After saying that, he nodded at me and turned to leave. I had nowhere to vent my anger, so I kicked the desk. The desk crashed to the floor with a loud noise. But this time, Andrew ignored me. He paused for a moment and walked out of the door without looking back. I'm so angry. While I was angry, the memories of Andrew in my mind kept surging like waves. I remembered the first encounter between Andrew and me 7 years ago. It was very cliché and dramatic, just like the beginning of a third-rate CEO novel. When it comes to the first encounter with Andrew, I have to mention an oily real estate boss. He already has 3 children but still plays around a lot. He likes pure college students, especially male ones. I hate him without a reason. I just don't like him. But the world of adult old dogs is very helpless. We're in the same circle, and there are always some parties that can't be avoided. That day was a private party. 12 people were in a private room, almost all of whom I hated. It was smoky and chaotic. I'm not a good drinker. I got a headache after just a few drinks. I was about to text my driver to come and carry me away. Before I could press the send button, I suddenly heard a sound of struggle. I saw the greasy fat pig pinning a man on the table, holding his throat and forcing him to drink. From where I was, the man looked in great pain. People around were laughing and taking out their phones to take pictures. To be honest, I'm used to this kind of thing. In the entertainment world, it's common for people to sell their dignity for money. Sometimes, if you don't let them sell themselves, they'll even get angry with you. I rubbed the bridge of my nose and watched the fat pig do whatever he wanted without moving. However, the fat pig went even further later. He actually wanted to have sex with that man right then and there. Normally, I wouldn't have cared, but unexpectedly, with his beer belly sticking out, the fat pig turned around and asked me obsequiously if I wanted to join in. To tell the truth, I felt that my soul had been insulted. I got really angry and scolded all these people one by one. I knew I had offended people, but so what? They're not as rich as me and can't beat me. They have to hold it in. Ha ha. I opened the door and was about to slam it shut when I caught a glimpse of the person lying on the table out of the corner of my eye. It was Andrew. I can't remember what he looked like at that time. I only remember that he looked at me and then closed his eyes, looking desperate and at the mercy of others. I'm not a kind-hearted person and even thought he was dirty. But I knew that if I left, these people would vent all their resentment towards me on him. They wouldn't kill him, but they had 100 ways to humiliate people. I thought for a while, then walked through the silent crowd, pushed the fat pig away forcefully, took off my coat and covered Andrew with it, then picked him up and left. In the following 7 years, whenever I recalled our first encounter, I was very grateful for that momentary impulse. This guy is mine. Anyone who touches him will go bankrupt. I was quite handsome back then, but actually everything was fake. Andrew is an adult man of 1.83 meters, dead heavy. I was so drunk that I couldn't tell people apart. After walking less than 12 meters to the corner, I put him down, shook my hands and said, "Get out of here." Andrew didn't leave. He stared at me fixedly and said hoarsely, "Boss, do you want me?" There was a slap mark on his face and red wine stains on the corner of his mouth. His skin was so fair that he looked really pitiful. Well, he was just ordinary looking and a man. I really had no interest in him. I said impatiently, "If you want to sell yourself, just go back. As a man, there are so many things you can do. Can you give birth to a child like a woman?" Andrew shook his head, his lips pale. I was too lazy to talk. I knew that the reason why that fat pig had never gotten into trouble despite his wild behavior was largely because he paid extremely high prices. Maybe this guy just wanted to make some quick money. Everyone has their own choices. I'm not his family, so I have no right to scold him. I ignored Andrew and walked forward a few steps. Suddenly, I received a call from my driver. My driver actually got lost. A professional driver couldn't even find the way and asked me for directions. I couldn't tolerate it. I was too lazy to talk nonsense with him and calmly hung up the phone, deciding to fire this driver who was a walking disaster with directions. At that moment, I thought all my subordinates were useless. I turned around and found that Andrew hadn't left. So I pointed at him and said, "You help me go to open a hotel room." At that time, Andrew misunderstood my meaning. I just simply felt dizzy and wanted to sleep. He thought I wanted to have sex with him. So when I was about to go to sleep, suddenly someone got into my arms. I reflexively kicked the person off. Andrew was sitting on the ground at that time, looking completely dazed. I was so angry that I laughed. "If you come up again, I'll kick you to death." Andrew lay on the sofa, holding his waist and not moving. In the middle of the night, I sat up groggily, thinking I was at home, and called the butler to pour me water. It wasn't until Andrew handed me a glass of warm water that I took a few sips and then remembered I was in the hotel. Under the night light, Andrew's face looked quite reliable. Immediately, it made me think of the former Andrew who quit his job to go home and have children, and my driver who was a direction-sense idiot. I was really short of people under me, especially reliable ones. "What's your name?" "Andrew." "Which university did you graduate from?" I asked him again. Andrew's answer surprised me. He graduated from the physics department of University A, which is a top school with a top major. I don't know what was going on in his mind to come out and sell himself. I took out my business card and threw it to Andrew. "I'm short of an assistant. If you want to have a proper job, come for an interview tomorrow." Andrew held my business card and nodded solemnly, saying thank you to me. The next day, he came and passed the interview smoothly, becoming my assistant and driver. I sent someone to investigate his background and found out that his father had owed usury. The principal was 200,000 yuan, and with compound interest, it had reached 1,013,000 yuan. Unable to pay it back, he jumped off a building. Those people couldn't get the debt repaid, so they kidnapped his mother and forced him to work as a prostitute for a greasy fat pig. I settled the usury for him and paid back 200,000 yuan. He signed a 7-year contract with me. In the first 4 years, he would pay back 50,000 yuan each year. In the next 3 years, his salary increased rapidly. Until today, he wants to resign. I can't figure out why he wants to resign. Am I not spoiling him enough, or am I not cute enough? Now Andrew still lives in my house. We had a fight during the day. I thought he wouldn't cook supper for me, but unexpectedly, he still brought me a bowl of millet porridge. I used to have a bad stomach. When I was busy, I often skipped meals. A few years ago, I had gastric bleeding. While talking to Andrew, I suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, which scared him so much that he almost lost control of the steering wheel. After that, he always took good care of me with delicious food. In recent years, I rarely have stomach problems. But after he leaves, what should I do? I trained him myself. From being scolded by me 10 times a day at the beginning to being extremely satisfactory now, and even the food he cooks is so delicious. It's really hard to find an assistant like him even with a searchlight. Andrew is sitting across from me, also having porridge. I asked, "Why do you want to resign? Give me a convincing reason." Andrew didn't even lift his head and said flatly, "My mother is urging me to go back to my hometown to get married." Marriage. At that moment, I almost suffocated. With a gulp, I managed to swallow the porridge with difficulty and couldn't say a word. I had never considered that Andrew would get married. On the one hand, he had always lived in my house. On the other hand, over the years, I had never seen any sign of his need for a woman. Regardless of gender. Regardless of whether they were beautiful or ugly, he wouldn't even give them an extra look or say an extra word. So I always thought that he was still young, fully devoted to his career, and had no time for personal affairs and would always work for me until he retired. Then I thought about it, and actually it made sense. Andrew was just an employee. A grown-up man should have his own family. Just like me. Although I don't love my fiancée and she doesn't love me either, we are both getting old. I'm 38 and she's already 40. We don't talk about love but only about money. After we get married, the market value of our two companies will double within 3 years. It's quite good. I suppressed my discomfort and calmed my mind, then said, "What kind of good woman can you find in your hometown? You already have a Beijing hookup. Going back to that remote place in your hometown, are you crazy? Just stay here. If you really want to get married, do it here. I'll hold the wedding for you." Andrew's face immediately turned very bad. He almost gritted his teeth and said, "You hold the wedding for me? I don't want you to get married at all. Who wants to hold the wedding for you?" I tried my best to act like a reliable adult male and said, "If you don't like it, I won't interfere. Find a professional wedding planning company. The one I used for my wedding is quite good and very professional. I'll recommend it to you and I'll pay for it." I saw Andrew clench his fists and say, "I'm not staying in Beijing. I'm going back home." I rubbed the bridge of my nose and said helplessly, "All your connections are in Beijing and Shanghai. You've worked hard for 7 years. Are you just going to give it all up? What for? What are you going to do when you go back to Chengdu? They say, don't go to Sichuan when you're young. Don't leave Sichuan when you're old. Are you going to open a hot pot restaurant when you're still young? I'll be 30 years old soon." Andrew stared straight at me. I advised him kindly, 30 is like a blooming flower. I'm already 38 and have never been in a relationship. Well, I'll give you a vacation, okay? Go out and have fun for a few months to relax. Then come back and marry a good woman who matches you. If you're tired of being Andrew, it's fine. Just in time, the general manager of my branch company is getting promoted. You can go and be the boss. That should be okay, right? I don't need you to meddle. I got angry. If I don't take care of you, who will? Your mother who goes crazy over mahjong? Has your mother ever taken care of you? If you get married and have a child, doesn't the child need to go to school? Where will the child study in Chengdu? How many kids across the country want to get into Beijing? Do you want your child to be like you, selling hot pot in Chengdu? Andrew, where are you going to find a wife? I've never heard you mention it. Can you treat marriage so casually? Find her photo and tell me her ID number. I'll check her background first. Andrew just sat there without moving. I decided to stand my ground and stared at him in silence. After a long while, he said, "There's no woman." Seeing that he finally softened his stance, I raised my eyebrows triumphantly. If there's no woman, why are you getting married? I like men. Andrew looked up, afraid that I wouldn't hear clearly, and emphasized again. I like men. There are many gays in Chengdu. I once again felt the malice from life. My Andrew is going to quit his job, he's getting married, and he just told me that he likes men. In the middle of the night, I was lying in bed, with a mouthful of old blood stuck in my throat, feeling irritated, confused, and incredulous. How could Andrew be gay? Aren't gays supposed to be sissies? The only thing about Andrew that seems gay is that he changes his socks every day. Otherwise, he's very proper and full of masculinity. No wonder he reacted so strongly when I slapped his butt the day before yesterday. If he's gay, wouldn't I be committing workplace sexual harassment? That perky but misled me. I clenched my palm, recalling the springy feeling of his butt. I felt so frustrated. I don't know which pig will end up with Andrew in the future. If it's two men, what if the other guy makes a move on Andrew? Given Andrew's personality, he won't tell anyone. I stared at the ceiling. Andrew was sleeping upstairs. I wondered if he was asleep. Andrew has been living with me for 5 years. Many female colleagues at the company used to joke with Andrew, saying that he was sometimes like my child bride. At that time, I thought Andrew was an ordinary straight man. I playfully put my arm around his waist and said, "What child bride? Andrew is an adult. He's my wife, right?" Andrew would always quickly break free from my hand. He would look at me seriously, his cheeks red with anger. Now that I think about it, an ordinary straight man wouldn't have reacted like that. He would definitely have said something gross back to me like, "Husband." It was me who suggested that he live with me. The shabby community he used to live in didn't even have heating. He caught a cold and had a fever. He didn't take a leave or tell me he was sick and kept working. During a meeting, he made a mistake in the PPT data I was about to present, which really put me in an awkward situation. To be honest, this mistake was incredibly stupid. 5 years ago, I didn't spoil him as much as I do now. I treated him like an ordinary Andrew and held him to strict standards. I scolded him and made him stand in front of me. I told him to seriously reflect on where his mind had been lately. I deliberately ignored him for about 3 hours. Without even looking up, I waved my hand to signal him to leave. It wasn't until I heard a loud thud that I realized Andrew had collapsed by the door. When I touched him, his face was burning hot. After taking him to the hospital for an examination, it turned out to be pneumonia. I was really fed up. It was like he'd die if he took a day off. Pneumonia is different from a cold. The recovery period is much longer and it's much more painful. I accompanied him while he got in 4 drip and then drove him home, but Andrew absolutely refused to let me take him. "If you won't let me take you, are you going to fly home?" Andrew squinted his eyes and said groggily at that time, "My place isn't nice. Please don't go in." I said, "I've even stayed in thatched huts when I was on business trips. What's there to be afraid of?" Andrew still shook his head and said, "There's a stretch of road where cars can't pass. It just rained and the road is dirty. Your shoes will be ruined after stepping on it. I can't afford to compensate you." I thought he was being sarcastic at that time. I got really angry, pulled him out of the passenger seat, and carried him all the way back to his place. His place was really small and shabby, and it was drafty. When the mice saw people, they scurried into the sofa crevices. I stared in disbelief and started scolding again. I pay you $250,000 a year. Give me back a fifth of it and you still have 200,000 left. Do you really have to live in such a dilapidated house? If others don't know, they'll think I'm mistreating you. Andrew carried the medicine and whispered I gave it all to my mom. Andrew's mom was no easy person. His dad was a gambler and his mom liked to play mahjong. He also had an older brother. His brother was honest, but he was poor. What's more, he kept having kids, so he got even poorer. All of it. No. How much do you have in your savings now? 10,000. I gave him a good scolding at that time. Maybe because he was running a fever and was especially vulnerable. After I finished scolding and went to the kitchen to get a glass of water, when I came back, I saw that Andrew had been scolded to tears by me. He didn't make a sound, just lowered his head and wiped his tears. I saw that he was really pitiful, so I gave him my water to drink. I helped him sit on the stool and calmly asked him why he was so stupid. He couldn't stop crying and told me that if his mom didn't get the money, she would come and make a scene. After saying that, Andrew looked at me with tears in his eyes, looking panicked and uneasy. I understood. There's nothing worth causing a scene about in that shabby house. If she were to cause trouble, it would definitely be at my company. You'll stay at my place for a while. I went to his wardrobe and picked out a few clothes and packed them up. Recover from your illness properly. Don't worry about other things. I took Andrew home and hired a private doctor for him. He finally recovered after a month. During this month, I sent his mother to a nursing home. I also found that Andrew could cook very well. Most importantly, as a physics major, he could even repair circuits and make generators. It was really cool. I'm a heartless capitalist. All my money comes from exploiting the surplus value of employees. So I fired the housekeeper and let Andrew take care of everything in my life. I couldn't fall asleep because I felt so sad at the thought of Andrew leaving me. Then I suddenly thought of a question. Although there are many gays in Chengdu, Beijing isn't bad either. So I took out my phone and posted a WeChat moment. I'm in urgent need of a good-looking and well-behaved gay. Please help me find one. Urgent. I need him tomorrow. After posting the WeChat moment, I peacefully fell asleep. If Andrew could find a boyfriend in Beijing, he probably wouldn't quit his job. I could even help him check out his boyfriend. Well, I'm so smart. Leo. Early the next morning, I was woken up by Andrew's shout. I saw his long eyelashes and blood-shot eyes in front of me. Delete it. Delete your WeChat moment right away. Yawning and still sleepy, I said, I won't delete it. I didn't even mention your name. What are you afraid of? By the way, don't call me by my full name. After all, Andrew is Andrew. Although he looked desperate, he quickly calmed down. Mr. Leo, do you know that many people will misunderstand you as a gay like this? I sat up and put on my socks. Sure, I know. So what? I don't care about them. Andrew said, what about your parents? What will they think? I walked into the toilet to wash my face and mumbled, I'm their son. Don't they know me well? I'm a proper straight man. I'm about to get married. They don't care about me at all. Andrew stood still. Behind him was the rising sun. He stood against the light and his eyelashes were bathed in the sunlight with the tips turning pale gold. He was almost 30 years old, having shed the greenness and timidity of the past. Years had refined him into a steady and graceful man. I was stunned for a moment. I realized that I had never really noticed Andrew from a perspective other than my own. After a while, I opened my arms and said, come here, help me with my clothes. Andrew habitually unfolded the suit and came over to help me put it on. It had been 5 years since he'd been doing this, but today I felt uncomfortable for the first time. He straightened my collar, lowered his head to tie my tie. His eyelashes drooped and his nose was straight. He looked so focused and handsome. I could hear his breathing and I could reach out and hug him with just one move. Even if I let my hand slide down, it would land on his butt. If only I could give it a squeeze. Wait, stop thinking. I swallowed hard and cursed myself inwardly. What are you thinking? Andrew is a man. Stop thinking about it. I stared blankly at a point in the void. So when he hugged me, I didn't react at all and stiffened all over. I'm sure Andrew noticed this too and let go after a gentle hug. He smiled and said to me, Mr. Leo, thank you for all these years. 7 years ago, you gave me a brand new life. Without you, there wouldn't be the me today. I really appreciate you. I wish you well. You must take care. By the end, his eyes were red and he was almost choking with sobs. But it was he who insisted on quitting. I'm the one who's so aggrieved and has nowhere to vent my anger. Then don't leave, okay? I'll give you whatever you want. Andrew shook his head firmly and smiled. Mr. Leo, I'll move out today. The moving company will come to help me with it. Thank you for your trouble. I stood there stupidly and followed him. I found that he had already packed his luggage. There was also an old man standing at the door. It was said that he was a top-notch butler who graduated from a British butler college and had decades of management experience. He really had everything well arranged for me. Where will you live? I asked with difficulty. I'll stay in a hotel for a few days first. I'll go back to Chengdu after everything is settled. Andrew nodded at me. Mr. Leo, thank you for taking care of me all these years. Thank you. All he could say was thank you. If he was really grateful to me, would he resign so resolutely? How could he treat me like this? All right, stop thanking. I'm leaving. Handle your own affairs properly. After I said coldly, I picked up my car keys and went out. I know that all good things must come to an end. But Andrew and I had meals at the same table for so many years. I thought only death could separate us. On my way to the company, my phone kept buzzing. There were those who were gossiping, those who were teasing me, and those who were trying to set me up. Of course, I successfully caught my mother's attention. She scolded me over the phone and ordered me to go home for dinner tomorrow to receive the education of love. By afternoon, the matchmaker came and showed me a bunch of gaudy things I didn't know what they were. A bunch of men were posing coquettishly, and the perfume smell was like body odor. It almost drove me crazy. Is this the quality of Beijing's young gays? No wonder Andrew was so desperate to go to Chengdu to find a boyfriend. At this time, another man came in. He was wearing a gray suit and had delicate features. He was particularly noticeable among these little vixens. I quickly waved to him and asked him to sit down. He politely smiled at me and handed me a resume. Oh, he has a high-level degree and quite a few. Not bad. I said amiably, Daniel, do your family members support your sexual orientation? Daniel hesitated for a long time and said uncertainly, support. I immediately thought he was unreliable. It's either support or non-support. What's the deal with a rhetorical question? How many boyfriends have you had? I've never had a boyfriend. My impression of him improved a bit. But never having had a boyfriend, would he be immature in dealing with emotional issues? What about girlfriends? Have you had any? Are you going to get married in the future? Daniel showed a happy smile. I'm married, Mr. Leo. My emotional life is stable. My child is in kindergarten. Don't worry, Mr. Leo. I won't delay your business. Me. You're married? Then what are you doing here? Daniel. At this time, Andrew pushed the door open. First, he was stunned by the room full of handsome young men that greeted him. Then he tightened his handsome face, walked to my side, and professionally said, Mr. Leo, this is Daniel. He has passed the interviews with me and the HR manager. He will be on probation for 1 month and serve as your administrative assistant, Andrew. Only then did I realize that I had made a mistake. This person was not the young gay from Beijing, but Andrew, a junior of Andrew. I picked up the resume and looked at it carefully, then said, if I offer you a 1 million yuan after-tax annual salary, will you quit your job? Daniel was shocked and stammered, of course not. I'll work for the boss for a lifetime. I said, only a fool would quit, right? Andrew said, if you're asked to work for 20 hours a day, finish approving documents, learn Japanese, English, and Spanish, drive the stupid boss around, give him a back massage, and tell him bedtime stories, would you do it? You need to be alive to spend the money you earn, right? Am I the stupid boss? If it weren't for my wise leadership, would the company be where it is today? Andrew confronted me. Am I the fool then? Daniel looked at me and then at Andrew, showing a terrified expression as if he was thinking, what on earth have I done? I waved him out and said in a fit of pique, I don't want him. He's too ugly. Andrew tilted his chin towards the young gays and said, then let them serve you. I brought them here to serve you. I raised my eyebrows and smiled. Pick one. Is there anyone you like? Andrew said neither humbly nor arrogantly, I'm not worthy of that. Heroes should be with beautiful women. You, Mr. Leo, should enjoy this good fortune slowly. I suddenly got angry for no reason. I told those young men with perky butts to get out and shouted at Andrew, how dare you treat me like that? Why are you so rebellious now? I didn't do anything to you. Andrew took a few steps back and stared at me. Mr. Leo, it was you who brought those people here to insult me. I don't like that kind of thing. Then what kind of person do you like? Are you in an online relationship? You went back to Chengdu eagerly to meet your online date. I cornered Andrew. I'll go with you. As I said this, I felt even more uncomfortable. There are risks in online dating. Who knows if he's a psychopathic? Andrew frowned. Mr. Leo, get out of the way. Instead of getting out of the way, I groped him and snatched his phone out of his pocket. Where did you meet him? Let me see your chat history. Leo. Andrew stepped forward to grab the phone back. Can you stop being so unreasonable? I put my arm around his waist and pushed him. He lost his balance and fell backward onto the table. I pressed myself on top of him, propping one hand beside his face. Looking into his wide, open eyes, I said, Stop being naughty, Andrew. Let me check him out for you. I'm really worried about you. Andrew stared at me without blinking and suddenly said, You always say such things to me. Leo, sometimes you're really going too far. After saying that, he pushed me away and rushed out of the door without even taking his phone. I don't understand why Andrew said such things to me. How could I be so excessive? My heart is almost broken by him. After Andrew ran away, he deliberately avoided me and never came back to get his phone. He has 2 phones, one for work and one for personal use. The one in my hand should be his personal phone. It's very quiet. I haven't even received a single spam call all day. I'm also angry. I've been giving in to him again and again. I've even been a bit of a doormat, but he doesn't appreciate it. It's really too much. I went home holding back my anger. The butler greeted me with a smile and said, Mr. Leo, you're back. The bath water has been drawn. I nodded. After taking a bath, it was almost 10 o'clock. I started to deal with the documents I had saved during the day. The butler brought up a glass of milk and put it on my desk. Without looking up, I grabbed the butler's hand and said, Andrew, help me take a look at this. The butler froze and so did I. Habit is really a terrible thing. It makes parting feel like being cut by a blunt knife. Thank you for your hard work. I let go of his hand as if nothing had happened. Go to bed. I no longer had the mood to work. I just flopped onto the bed. The house was as quiet as ever. There was no shortage of furniture, but I felt that the house was very empty. In fact, no one can't live without another. It's just that one will feel sad for a while. I called Andrew. After a few beeps, Andrew answered the phone. I heard his breathing. It seemed like a long time passed before he softly said, Mr. Leo, may I ask what's the matter? Your phone is still with me. When will you come to get it? I said, Mr. Leo, you can handle it as you like. Andrew said casually. That number was set up just for you. Usually, only you would call. So you don't need it anymore since you've quit, right? I took a deep breath and said, I'll invite you to dinner in 3 days. Clear your schedule. I don't like to join in the fun. You know that. Andrew said, It's just the 2 of us. We've got to have a proper farewell meal. Even if we can't be colleagues anymore, we can at least be friends. Am I right? I said, Mr. Leo, I have a ticket to go back to Chengdu tomorrow. Do you have to be so rebellious? What's wrong with you, Andrew? Good night, Mr. Leo. Andrew abruptly hung up the phone. This was the first time he had actively hung up on me. It always made me feel that he was avoiding something. When I called back, he didn't answer. I had no idea where he was in the middle of the night. I threw my phone aside and stared at the ceiling until dawn. The next day, I bought some groceries and went home for dinner. Before I even entered the door, my mom looked behind me and asked, Where's Andrew? Why didn't he come back with you? My whole family liked Andrew very much, especially my mom. In her words, her husband and son were all big oafs who didn't understand romance. Only Andrew was the sweet and considerate one who could accompany her shopping and carry her bags. So, I didn't want her to know that Andrew had quit his job for the time being. Otherwise, my mom would definitely keep asking questions and drive me crazy. I said, the cutest little son in the world is back, and you don't even take a second look. It really breaks my heart. My mom got angry and said, Cute my foot. What's up with that WeChat post of yours? Do you know how many calls I've received in the past 2 days? Explaining to people that you're not gay? My tongue is about to rot from explaining. I smiled and said, What if I really am? My mom was stunned for a moment. When she realized I was joking, she rolled her eyes and said, You just keep being so childish. You're already 38 and still can't find a wife. Didn't I find one? My mom said with an unclear expression. How you found her? I don't know. Anyway, I'm not optimistic about it. She has a strong personality and doesn't have feelings for you. You're also very willful. Over the years, only Andrew could control you. Then my mom beat her chest and stamped her feet and said, If only Andrew were a girl. My mom was still nagging at me, but I didn't hear a thing. A brand new idea popped into my head. I'm going to find a boyfriend for Andrew who is both good-looking and of good character. Then among the young talents, who is more talented than me? Although my mom always says I'm not serious, deep down, I'm a very responsible man. After all, I'm the young and talented Leo. Since I've decided to pursue Andrew, I have to be responsible for him and make him have no concerns about having a relationship with me. So the next second, I knelt down in front of my mom with a thud. My mom, what are you doing? Mom, I'm not a human being. Andrew hates me to the core. In the next 5 minutes, I vividly told my mom that I found out I'm gay and took advantage of Andrew when I was drunk. I really took advantage of him completely, and now he wants to quit his job. My mom was stunned like a wooden chicken. She called my dad and my brother home within half an hour. As you can imagine, at 38, I was beaten up by my still energetic dad and my brother together and locked at home, not allowed to go out. They told me to go to Andrew with a whip on my back tomorrow to apologize. My dad also said that if Andrew doesn't forgive me, he'll send me to jail. I'm really their biological son. At night, with a bruised face, I couldn't fall asleep, so I started to study Andrew's phone. I tried the password several times, but it was always wrong, so I had to go to my brother. My brother is in the field of electronic technology. I pleaded with him in every way, almost to the point of hanging myself, and only then did he help me unlock the password. Yes, I know I violated Andrew's privacy, but I really wanted to know who that online friend he was going back to Chengdu to meet was. As the saying goes, know your enemy and yourself, and you can fight 100 battles without defeat. Andrew can either be my Andrew or my man. There is no third way. I swear I won't look too much. I'll just take a little peek. Then I looked through it for a full 3 hours. Strangely enough, I couldn't find any trace of that other man at all. The WeChat chat history, it was all my ramblings and red envelopes. QQ, it was all my work-related messages bombarding him. On Jihu, the most liked posts were about how to deal with the boss, how to satisfy the boss, and what it's like when the boss is unreasonable. Finally, I clicked into Weibo. I don't usually use Weibo. I feel like all the idiots in China can be found on Weibo. I didn't expect Andrew to have a Weibo account. His name is Stubborn. He has nearly 10,000 followers. He has only posted more than 30 times. I started reading from his first post. It was posted 5 years ago. It's really hard to keep some words in my heart. It even affects my work state. He'll be very angry, so I'll write these words here. I hope I can adjust my work state as soon as possible. I like my boss, but he's straight. He's older than me. He often doesn't shave and looks sloppy, but he's very tall and has strong arms. I can never forget the time when he carried me out of that abyss. He carried me very steadily. Just like the Planck constant, it gives me a great sense of security. He's actually a rather silent and imposing person, but recently he always likes to chatter to me. Sometimes I feel like I'm special and have the illusion that he might actually like me a little bit, but I found out yesterday that's not the case. It turns out that's just his attitude towards acquaintances. I have to restrain my feelings and not let him find out. I still owe him money. I have to pay it off before I can leave him. I couldn't restrain myself. I moved in with the boss. Now, the constants are helping the boss tie his tie and cook for him. The variable is waking the boss up. Sometimes when I go, the boss is already awake and washing his face. He's unhappy. Then I get up earlier every morning to watch the boss sleep. The boss looks so cute when he sleeps. But I'm a bit greedy. I'm thinking it would be nice if I could lie next to him. I like cooking for the boss. I like it as much as if someone gave me a particle accelerator. The boss is actually easy to feed. He eats anything. It was my birthday today. The boss took me to a French restaurant. I'm not used to French food. The boss came back and cooked me a bowl of noodles with a lot of truffles and meat. It was a bit unpalatable. The boss really has a straight man's taste. I felt very happy. Today, the boss called me wife. He thought I was angry, but actually I wasn't. I even added husband in my heart. Oh, how I wish I could call him husband. But I'm not qualified. I can only call him boss. Every time I call him boss, I feel so shy. Sometimes I'm afraid. I always think he has seen through my feelings. He always says such things. Maybe he's just flirting with me for fun. If that's the case, I can't even get angry. I just feel scared. But at least he knows my feelings, right? Yesterday, the boss got drunk. I helped him to bed. He kept muttering and told me about his past. He even praised me and said that I'm his favorite in the whole company. Then I asked him again who his favorite was. He said, "You're my favorite." I recorded it on my phone. I secretly hid the boss's old pajamas without washing them. I hung his clothes and mine together. Mine are on the inside and his are on the outside, just like he's holding me. I feel guilty. I think I'm so perverted, but I just can't help it. I see a lot of people telling me to be brave and pursue love. I'm afraid I'll disappoint you. I'll never confess my love to the boss. First, the boss is really straight. He watches porn. Second, I really like the boss's family. They gave me the warmth of a family. I can't bear their disappointed or even disgusted looks. Finally, having a crush is my own business. The boss's feelings for me are like Schrodinger's cat. Sometimes I think he likes me, sometimes I think he doesn't. This uncertain superposition state makes my emotions fluctuate a lot. But I don't want to break it. I can be Andrew for the boss all my life. I never want to know if the cat is dead or alive. I'm a coward. Please don't urge me to get married, dear netizens. The boss hasn't had a stomachache for a long time. That's great. I'm not as lucky. I've been feeling dizzy lately. I have to find time to go to the hospital. I have to exercise well and take care of the boss when he gets old. The boss is getting married. Some people's feelings are like Higgs particles, 1 in a billion, and they are rare and hard to come by. I thought we would be in a state of quantum entanglement, but unexpectedly what holds us together is the weak nuclear force. The boss actually doesn't like her. He just thinks she is suitable. If I were a woman, it would be great. At least I could openly talk about love. A marriage certificate that costs 9 yuan and 9 jiao is such an ordinary thing for heterosexuals, but it's my lifelong wish. However, it's already good enough to be the best man at the boss's wedding. Standing next to the boss, I can secretly imagine in my mind that the one marrying him is me. Moreover, there is another benefit to the boss getting married, which is that the boss will have his own child. His child can recognize me as the godfather. He is the father, and I am the godfather. Well, it's really nice. Thank you all for your concern. I'm fine. Now my relationship problem is no longer the main contradiction. I have a benign tumor in my brain, but it's pressing on the nerves and the success rate of the surgery is not high. I've decided to resign. I didn't expect that I won't be able to be the best man or the godfather. I think I'm a bit unlucky. But then I think I'm actually very lucky. I've lived for 7 more years. The boss has never realized that 7 years ago when I was lying naked on the table, I found that the window in the room was open on the 37th floor. I thought that as soon as the boss walked out of the room, I would jump out of the window. I even got my posture ready. But the boss came back and carried me away. So in the past, when you guys called my boss a scumbag, I would explain it seriously and sometimes even scold people. He's the best person in the world, really. He always says he's a heartless capitalist, but he's the best. If you refute me, I'll scold you. I won't tell my boss. Stop egging me on. He's getting married. How can I tell him such an inauspicious thing? He'll probably cry, the stupid boss. Anyway, I can't bear to see him sad. Moreover, if he knew but wasn't sad enough, I'd be heartbroken. It's too much of a hassle. Let me leave Chengdu quietly. The best blessing I can give him is to not disturb him. When I wrote this Weibo, I was on the balcony looking at the stars. The starlight travels for hundreds of millions of years before it can be received by human eyes. During this period, the particles will die out or be blocked, so it's very difficult to be seen. What we see are the stars from 10,000 years ago. Maybe that star has already decayed by now. Only the starlight proves that it once shone brightly. It's nice that the boss has seen my light. It's very romantic. There are always many things in this world that can't be forced. I have many regrets, but I don't regret it. I'm just a bit reluctant to let go. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I found that I was the other man and Andrew was dying. I kept calling Andrew, but his phone was off. Then I called his friends and none of them knew where he was. Finally, I drove to the police station and begged my police friend to help me locate him. After all this commotion until around 10 o'clock in the morning, I finally found out where Andrew had gone. Last night, he took a flight to Munich, Germany. I guessed that he was going to see a doctor, but the problem is that once he went to Germany, I lost track of him. I really don't have a single friend in Germany. Then I rushed to Munich without a break. Being unfamiliar with the place, I went from one hospital to another to ask, but I didn't find him. I felt extremely anxious. I thought more than once that Andrew's cancer might have been caused by my exploitation over the years. He didn't eat or sleep well. He was even punished to stand when he was sick back then, and it all added up to this illness. After a week like this, I returned to China and offered a reward of 10 million to find Andrew. I couldn't eat or sleep well every day. I went from a middle-aged greasy man to a slender young man. Almost everyone in the business and political circles in Beijing knew that I was crazy about finding Andrew. Fortunately, having made many connections over the years, things were easier to handle. I've never been so grateful that I didn't squander my family business when I was at my worst. 3 more days passed. I finally learned Andrew's specific address. Without waiting a moment, I went to a sanatorium in Chengdu. Chengdu has a lot of mountains. The sanatorium where Andrew is staying is deep in the mountains, and there is also a giant panda breeding base nearby. When I saw Andrew, it was a warm winter day with gentle sunlight. He was a different person then. He was wearing a loose white sweater and had a small long stick beside him. He was lying leisurely in a rocking chair, soaking up the sun, with an earphone in one ear. A kitten curled up at his feet meowed. He bent down and reached out his hand. The little kitten jumped into his palm, curled up into a white ball, and fell asleep on his knee. Andrew still didn't open his eyes, with a smile on his lips, swaying in the rocking chair. He looked extremely happy and relaxed, which was very different from the image of a sickly and emaciated person I had imagined. He even gained a little weight on his face and his skin looked better. And I, Leo, who am supposed to be outstanding, lost about 30 catties in just 10 days. My stomachache flared up more than 10 times. I actually looked more like a patient than him. I wonder if Andrew is just joking with me. Anyway, Andrew's current state still satisfied me very much. I stood beside him, waiting for him to open his eyes and see me. I thought he would surely show a stupid expression like, "Why is it you again, Leo?" So I took out my phone and started shooting a video of Andrew stroking the cat. I saw his slender and fair index finger moving through the soft cat fur. In the dazzling warm winter sun, it gave me an illusion of white jade placed on mink fur. Andrew had mentioned before that he wanted to keep a cat at home. I feel annoyed just thinking about Andrew having to take care of these long-haired beasts, so I didn't agree. Then he secretly went to feed stray cats and couldn't control his hands from touching them once or twice. Wild cats are different from domestic cats. They are very fierce. He got the rabies vaccine 4 times in 7 years. No matter how many times I told him, he still didn't change. After being scratched, he would still touch cats next time. No matter how much I scolded him, it was useless. He was always like this with the things he liked, stupidly getting close without fearing the pain. Soon, a big cat came. This cat looked quite fierce. It scratched at Andrew's trouser leg. Andrew still didn't open his eyes and just lowered his hand as if waiting for the cat to rub against his palm. The cat was startled and raised its claws. It was about to scratch Andrew's back of the hand. I quickly shouted and protected Andrew's hand, rubbing it. I couldn't help scolding. "How many times have I told you not to touch these shedding animals like cats and dogs? Can your current body still handle getting vaccinations?" Andrew suddenly opened his eyes and tightly grasped my hand. His breathing was trembling. It took him a long time to say, "You, Mr. Leo. How could you?" I snorted, "What do you think?" Andrew stared at me with big tears rolling down from his eyes. But he was smiling, with tears in his smile. "I was so afraid you would come, and also so afraid you wouldn't." Only then did I notice a very serious problem. Andrew's eyes were out of focus. When he talked to me, he didn't look at me, but his ears were turned in my direction. He had been keeping his eyes closed, maybe because he was blind. "You. Can't you see?" I squatted down and waved my palm in front of Andrew's eyes. The big palm stirred up a gust of wind and Andrew's hair fluttered. After a long while, Andrew said, "Why are you here?" "I saw your Weibo," I said honestly. Andrew caught his breath, his fair face flushing red as he stammered, "Wang, Leo, how could you? You're being too much." "Then doesn't that mean?" Andrew's Weibo style was the complete opposite of his usual attitude towards me. Take the matter of waking me up, for example. As I understood it, every morning when I opened my eyes, I would see Andrew's expressionless face like that of a dean and his unblinking, severely reproachful eyes, which completely eliminated my desire to stay in bed. Who would have known that he was admiring my peerless sleeping face with a rather infatuated mindset? Also, he never joked with me. He was so serious that it was outrageous and never overstepped the mark. To be honest, it really can't be blamed on my low emotional intelligence for not realizing that Andrew liked me after 7 years. It's Andrew's fault for hiding his feelings too deeply. The fact that he had a crush on me might be Andrew's biggest, hidden secret. When he suddenly heard this bad news, he was in a complete mess. He scaredly threw the cat on his lap at my face and stood up to leave. Andrew couldn't see. He didn't know I was squatting in front of him and tripped over me. I reached out to pull him and then we both fell. We rolled on the ground for a few times and I was underneath him. I held him in my arms and was very dissatisfied with the sanatorium. Why isn't there anyone staying close to you since you can't see? And I wiped the cat hair off my face. Why are there so many cats? What if they scratch you? Andrew propped himself up on me and whispered, Mr. Leo, let go of me. I choked on my words. Andrew was warm from the sun and there was an indescribable but nice smell on him. Don't move. Let me hold you for a while. Andrew didn't say a word, just gently rested his head on my shoulder. I've been very tense these days. I was both afraid that Andrew would suffer where I couldn't see, and afraid that I would never see Andrew again. Now that I was holding him firmly in my arms, I felt much better. After a long time, I whispered, what's wrong with your eyes? Andrew, tell me the truth. Don't lie to me anymore. There's a tumor pressing on the optic nerve. Sometimes I can see, sometimes I can't. When will you have the surgery? I couldn't see Andrew's expression. I only heard him speaking in my ear with a very gentle breath. I've asked in Germany. The tumor is in a bad position. The success rate is quite low. My cognitive ability will be affected and the recurrence rate is high. I don't want to have the surgery. I frowned and said, Andrew, is this your attitude towards your own life? Mr. Leo. Andrew sighed. You're always so overbearing. You don't respect my wishes at all. I won't have the surgery. I should have been angry, but the sun was so nice and Andrew smelled so good. For the first time, I said calmly, if you die, what will I do? If you just leave like this, I'll never get over it. I'll be a widower for the rest of my life. Can you try hard for my sake? I'll accompany you, Andrew. Andrew stiffened and asked me in a trembling voice, don't you find me disgusting? I said helplessly, you do seem a bit perverted. After a pause, I added, but I like it. I thought Andrew would be a bit touched after I said that. Who would have thought that he suddenly started struggling? I said I wanted to hug him for a while, so he had to let me hug him until I was satisfied. I rolled over and wrapped my arms around his waist to keep him still. Andrew started groping around on me. Suddenly, he froze and shouted, Leo, where's your beer belly? That's not a beer belly. I got anxious. I really cared about my image in Andrew's heart right now. That's called a love handle. What's wrong with a 38-year-old mature man having a love handle? It's sexy. Watch your language when talking to your boss. Andrew paused for a moment, then reached out and touched my face. His eyes turned red again. Why have you lost so much weight? Even the double chin I liked so much is gone. At this moment, I seriously doubted Andrew's aesthetic taste. To clarify, I'm not ugly. Even if a young and talented man gains weight, he's still a middle-aged and talented man. I used to have a bad stomach and couldn't gain weight no matter what I ate. I even had an 8-pack. There were countless women in the whole capital who were after me. When I went out for social events, some cheap starlets would throw themselves at me, which annoyed me greatly. But since I gained weight, this kind of harassment has decreased a lot. Wait. I suddenly remembered that I started gaining weight since Andrew started supervising my meals every day. He cooked all kinds of delicious food for me. If I didn't eat, he would force feed me. I had 5 meals a day. Sometimes he would even get out of bed in the middle of the night to make me a midnight snack, for fear that I would be hungry and vomit blood again. Now that I think about it, could it be that Andrew deliberately fattened me up to prevent me from finding women? How perverted. I like it. Andrew touched my belly, shed tears and said painfully, did your stomach problem recur? Is it because of me? That you? I reached out to wipe his tears and comforted him. Don't cry. It didn't recur. Andrew, if you really feel sorry for me, go for the surgery. I can't live without you. I only like the food you cook for me. You're still young. You have to pull through. I've been unfair to you all these years and never gave you a vacation. When you recover, let's go on a trip together for a few years. Okay? Your illness isn't serious. Listen to me. I'll definitely cure you. Andrew sniffed and shook his head gently. You're just used to it. Now that you know I like you and I still cook for you, it's too unfair to your wife. Thank you, Mr. Leo. Really, it's not necessary. Andrew has 100 ways to make me angry easily. I snorted. Can't you think straight? What marriage? Do you think I'm that kind of scumbag who has 2 timers? Andrew, listen up. From now on, I'm your man. My people, my money, my family, I'll share them with you. You don't have to worry about anything. There's only one thing. Try your best to live. As I said, I hugged Andrew and sat on the rocking chair. Wait a minute. I'll get the marriage certificate for you to see. Andrew almost crashed. He stammered. Marriage? Certificate? With whom? With you. I rummaged through my bag and took out a small red book from the interlayer. I put it in Andrew's hand. I saw your Weibo. Didn't you want it? I even retouched my photo. So good looking. When you recover, you have to have a good look at handsome brother Wang. Did you edit my photo? No. Your skin is good enough. There's no need to edit it. Andrew stroked the cover of it forcefully, his wrist trembling so much that he even bent the corners. I was afraid that he might get too excited and something bad would happen. So I said, it's a high-end custom-made Chanel item, made of crocodile skin. But I asked my dad to get it stamped at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Although it's not legally recognized, you'll have a share of my property. Just recently, wasn't I getting married? When you recover, we'll hold a proper wedding. Andrew, what about your uncle and aunt? Don't worry, they've agreed. My dad has retired, and I'm the richest person in the whole family. No one can control me. By the way, remember, it was me who forced you. Don't let it slip. In the end, I carried Andrew back to the room. I was in a hurry because he was crying with snot and tears all over, and I didn't bring any tissues. Who would a man bring that stuff? It was always Andrew who took them for me before. Andrew tightly held the marriage certificate and lay on my shoulder. The sound of him sniffling lingered in my ear. It was quite tragic. I asked, is it your tears or snot dripping on my neck now? Andrew's voice was thick with a nasal sound. He sounded aggrieved and very obedient. Tears. Wipe it on my clothes. Why is your tear gland like Nongfu spring? No. Andrew paused. Your clothes are too expensive. Originally, we were supposed to leave for Beijing that night, but unexpectedly, Andrew donated 500,000 yuan to the panda base and made an appointment to touch the pandas tomorrow morning. Yes, he came back to Chengdu just to touch the pandas. There really is someone like Andrew in this world who is crazy about pandas and spends 500,000 yuan to touch the national treasure for 5 minutes. He's really a fool with a lot of money. After Andrew cried for a while yesterday, he could actually see a bit of a shadow. The breeder was holding a baby panda, which was so small. Andrew gently stroked the panda's ear with his hand and looked extremely happy. The breeder asked him if he wanted to hold it. Andrew was flattered and said that there were regulations against holding pandas. The breeder said it was okay because Andrew was their lucky customer, so he could hold it. Andrew held the panda like he was holding a child, turned his head and whispered to me, "Boss, I'm holding the panda." "I'm so lucky." I replied with an and took pictures of Andrew. Of course he could hold it. I secretly donated another 1 million yuan to the breeding base. Then Andrew took me to see his favorite giant panda. When I got there, the panda was sitting on a small stool, crossing its legs and munching on bamboo, looking quite like a lord. Andrew told me that the panda looked like me. I initially refused to admit it, but since it was Andrew's favorite panda, I actually felt a bit happy. I lowered my head and kissed Andrew. Andrew covered his face and blushed deeply. After seeing the pandas, we returned to Beijing. To some extent, death is fair. Whether you're extremely wealthy or penniless, life only lasts about 100 years. I've lived for 38 years and things have always gone smoothly for me. I never thought the biggest hurdle would be Andrew. Andrew's surgery was prepared for 10 days. I couldn't sleep at night. I'd lie on the bed next to Andrew's. After he fell asleep, I'd lie beside him, close my eyes and hold his wrist, counting his pulse one by one until he woke up. I was afraid that if I wasn't careful and a blood vessel in Andrew's brain burst, he'd be gone. Only when my mom came during the day to chat with Andrew could I curl up in the car and take a short nap or cry a bit. I was extremely anxious. But I couldn't break down because I'm Andrew's emotional support. The night before the surgery, Andrew climbed onto my bed. This time, I didn't kick him off. Instead, he lay steadily in my arms. "What's wrong? Are you cold?" Andrew snuggled deeper into my arms and whispered, "I'm scared." My eyes welled up. Actually, I was also scared, but I couldn't show it. I patted his back and said with a smile, "Don't be a coward. It's just a minor surgery. I'll be waiting for you at the door tomorrow. Even the king of hell wouldn't dare to send someone to take you away. It's okay. Go to sleep." Andrew nodded gently and suddenly said, "I always feel like I've wasted these 7 years. If I'd been braver and told you earlier, it would have been better. What if something happens to me tomorrow? I really regret it." As Andrew was about to cry again, afraid it would affect his surgery the next day, I quickly said, "Well, actually, if you'd told me earlier, I might have fired you. Seriously, you know I'm really difficult to deal with. Of course, I've had girlfriends. The first one was a high school sweetheart. She was bad at math and always asked me for help. I got annoyed and broke up with her. The The second one was when I was 28. She was a pure-looking internet celebrity type. She even asked me to open bottle caps for her and threw tantrums all the time. I wasn't going to comfort her, so we broke up after a month. From then on, I thought women were extremely troublesome and never had a girlfriend again. Finally, there's Andrew, the best in the world, my little sweetheart. Andrew thought for a while and said, "You're right. You might even beat me. It's really a good time for this tumor to grow." I scolded him for talking nonsense. Andrew was so used to my scolding that he actually showed a satisfied expression. He rubbed against me and said, "Boss, do you want me? Don't tempt me. You'll pay for it after your surgery. What if?" I shouted at him, "There's no what if." Andrew nodded and quickly said, "No. Mr. Leo, don't be angry." I pinched his chin and bit Andrew's lips. The two of us kissed so passionately that we were out of breath, like two cats rubbing against each other. This was our first kiss. After the intense kiss, Andrew lay in my arms gasping for breath. "You're so fierce," he said. I vaguely thought that Andrew smelled like lemon, a bit sweet and really delicious. When we both calmed down, I said seriously, "You've always been unlucky, but I'm lucky. I'll share all my luck with you. You must pull through." Andrew's eyes were moist and extremely bright, just like when he came for the job interview. "Boss, I won't let you down. I'll live and take care of you in your old age." Andrew really knows how to ruin the mood when he talks, but I was so touched that I hugged him and slept with him for the first time. Andrew's surgery lasted for 13 hours. I stood at the door the whole time like a door god. I promised him that I would watch over him well. I was afraid that if I didn't do well, he would get angry and not come back. It was not until he was wheeled out wearing a respirator and the doctor told me that the surgery was successful that I finally relaxed. After Andrew woke up, I slept like the dead. They had to shave his head for the craniotomy, so Andrew became a handsome little monk. When he married me, his hair had only grown back a little and he looked really cool. And now I'm at the peak of my good looks. I've been actively working out these months to take care of Andrew. My 8-pack abs are back and my hair is thick and black. So if we don't get married now, when will we? It was a very Western-style wedding held outdoors. Quite a lot of people came, and of course, they all had smiles on their faces. I urged Andrew to post a video of our vows on Weibo. Andrew hesitated and said, "Isn't it inappropriate, Mr. Leo? What if people recognize us on the street later?" "It doesn't matter. What's the big deal? If straight couples can post, why should we, a gay couple, be so timid? Homosexuality and heterosexuality are both forms of love, aren't they?" Andrew was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "You're right. This is just like you." I know that my wedding was quite a shock to the world. Andrew always advised me not to be too high profile, but I just wouldn't listen. Andrew is my lover. I don't care if he's a man or a woman. I want everyone I know to know about it and shut up. I'm much happier than them. The sun was shining brightly and the sky was blue. In the video, we stood on the green grass, wearing formal suits, looking into each other's eyes and smiling as we exchanged rings. I hugged Andrew and kissed him seriously, telling him that from then on, he shouldn't call me boss but husband. Andrew is not as thick-skinned as me. He blushed and whispered husband very softly. I was very happy and announced loudly to everyone, "From today on, Andrew is my husband. Welcome everyone to envy my happy married life in the future." Andrew was so shy that he hid behind me and I pulled him out and kissed him again. I went on a 2-year honeymoon with Andrew and visited all the places he wanted to go. Unfortunately, love makes one gain weight and my 6-pack abs turned back into a single lump of flesh.